What's up, family? Welcome to another episode of Let Me Talk to You, Son. Episode 6, I believe. And I'm going to try something new. It's sponsored by I Overcame. Yeah, the clothing line, clothing brand. Check them out. So today, we're going to get right into it. I got my brothers with me. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I got my brothers with me. I got my brother, Derek Alexander, and my brother, Brendan Knox.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And we're going to touch on a few things today. So, as always, I'm just going to jump right into it. No hesitation. Fellas, I would love for y'all to share a little bit about who you are to the audience, and we're going to go from there. So, Brandon, you want to start?
Me up first? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, Brendan Knox, born in Detroit, raised in Columbus, Ohio. Primarily, single mother, household. Had a fantastic, stepfather come into the picture. 3 other siblings. College graduate. Pro football player.
That's what's up. Look at him, pro football player. With the humility. All right, Derek Alexander, the personality in the room.
Yeah, let's go. Hey, so my name is Derek Alexander. They call me DA.
Yes, sir.
I am from Columbus, Ohio. By the way of the hilltop, west side Columbus.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean? Father, son, brother, mentor. I do it all. Owner of HopeFitness Academy.
Yes, sir.
Also, former professional athlete.
That's what's up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. You were saying that both of you guys, professional athletes, you are a trainer, one of the best trainers in, I would say, in the United States for sure.
Appreciate it.
Humbly.
Definitely here in Central Ohio. We appreciate your contribution and what you do for the community, man. I really appreciate that. And Brendan being, quote unquote, a product
100%
of HopeFitness.
Yeah.
And just real quick, what was your, DA, what was your motivation kind of getting started with training? You was a professional athlete. Being a professional athlete, did you play here in NFL, semi-pro? Did you play overseas?
Yeah.
What was your motivation to kind of get things started after your professional career?
So I played ball overseas in the Italian Football League.
Okay.
A great experience. For me, it was more or less like being over there and having a chance to like live abroad. You know what I mean, and like experience a lot of the world. I remember being in my apartment one day. I'm looking like, man, this is a blessing. You know what I mean? And there was so many guys I remember in Little League football that was better than me, but just didn't have the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So how can we help give that back, right? So I came home. My mom was pressing me like, you need to start training kids and have your business. I'm like, man, I'm not no trainer. I want to be a pharmaceutical sales rep, make this money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And keep it pushing.
Right.
She like, no, your calling is kids. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Started training my nephew, man, and it kind of took off from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we think that success in football is reaching the NFL. Not saying that it's not, because I'm going to get into that here in a second.
For sure.
Though I want to say football is a vehicle and definitely a tool to teach principles and basically be a moral compass to being a great man.
Right.
And that's kind of like, I believe that's what you push at Hope, is to be great men.
Yeah, 100%.
Through football, for sure. But ultimately, the end result is to be a great man. And again, I speak highly of this young man right here. So mature for his age, been through a lot. So real quick, DA, before I jump over to you, Brendan, I know we're going to get to you just for a second, but you mentioned your mother.
Yeah.
And I know your story with your father.
All right.
Can you touch on that just a little bit about, how your father was an impact in your life and that story?
Yeah, for sure. So, my dad was not always, present all the time, right? My mom was my number one primary source. But towards the end of his life, he had a great impact as far as, the motivation behind Hope. He was a big fan of Obama. So actually the name Hope came from the Obama campaign on how he loved Obama, you know what I mean? And, the wings, the logo of the wings is my dad's, he's watching over us, you know what I mean? So that's kind of like that push. But, his death in 2012, like, it's ironic that sometimes, death can either hurt you or drive you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've seen either way. I've seen people go into deep depressions.
For sure.
And I've seen it go the opposite direction of like, man, let's go get it. Right.
For sure.
So for me, the last day that I spoke to him, when the day he died, he told me I'd be the best trainer in the world.
Wow.
So it was time to go.
It's
time to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
For
every
sure.
day I know I have to be better the next day because of the motivation he gave me that last day.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So I have no choice but to be great.
What does HOPE stand for?
Hiring our potential every day. So every day we're going to get better.
That's wonderful.
Yes, sir.
That's wonderful. So that impact gave you a boost. A boost. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Boosted you, catapulted you to that determination to be like, all right, I'm going to live by his words. Even though you said y'all didn't have he was in and out.
All right.
You obviously forgave him and allowed him to have that space and place in your heart. And
quick story. I was 20 years old, right? And I came to him on like, not being disrespectful, but I'm like, Dad, listen, there's things as a man that I was never taught by you, right? Changing a tire. And,
that's good stuff, though.
Certain
for real.
things, right?
That's
So
real
I
talk.
said, man, like, how do we move past all the past hurts and sitting on the porch waiting on you to show up and you never came? Like, how do we move past that?
Wow.
Like, I want you to be a certain figure in my life. I need you.
That's huge.
And he said, bro, I got you. You know what I mean?
Man, that's nice.
He stepped up. Like I said, we would drive to Cambridge to see my kids. We would go fishing, play. We would go golfing. Like it was like, it was most, this surreal thing. Like towards the end of his life, that the relationship we ended up having was crazy. It was amazing.
I mean, that's God's timing.
Always.
You know what I mean?
Always.
And it's never too late.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Brendan, I'm going to jump over here to you. Thank you for sharing that.
For sure.
DA. Brendan, being a product of HOPE, I know a little bit of your story, but I would love for you to share a little bit of how you kind of got into football and what it meant for you and what was your drive.
We initially got into football, coming back to, the single mother household. It was just her, trying to get, started as a nurse and stuff like that, walking with us in the snow, to the bus stop, stuff like that, finding different, role models for us to look up to was kind of difficult. She's a single
This is
mom.
in Detroit?
This is, this is the younger ages. My father passes at a young age, so we up and moved to Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, wow. What age did your father pass?
When I was about 2.
Wow.
Yep. So about 2 weeks after that, we up and moved to Columbus, with just pretty much the clothes on our backs and stuff like that. House had flooded, so we didn't really have much, came here. My mom was looking for, good structure, someone to be kind of hard on us. My uncle, he played a huge role in that. But outside of that, it was just something to kind of keep us, in line and stuff like that. So it was football. It was really my oldest 2 brothers that were kind of the athletes. Me, I'm not gonna lie, I was the mama's boy. Summertime, I'm in the AC. My older 2 brothers are the cool kids in the neighborhood. Dang, did you hear about your brother this, your brother that? Yeah, I did. Yeah. So me following in their footsteps, kind of jumped in there with, following them. The first running practice we had, when I was about maybe 8, 9, 10, something like that, I quit because it was raining. They called like, come get him. They called mama, come get him. He's out here crying, like.
It was raining.
Yeah, it was raining. Yeah, so I quit. Started back up about 2 years later with my brother, playing out here on the west side for the Georgian High Packers. And just my whole motivation was just trying to, live up to them, make them proud. Didn't really have, a bad upbringing, wasn't a troubled kid, but, everything I wanted to do was to make them proud. So ended up making it a little further than them. It kind of switched, the roles kind of flipped, and they became my biggest, fans outside of, me, looking up to them and stuff like that. So it's just funny how things have a way, playing out and stuff like that. and I'm still chasing this dream to this day. So
that's what's up.
yeah.
Yeah, you with the XFL, the Seattle Seadragons, and you had a pretty good season. Came across some injuries.
Yes, sir.
And you coming across the injuries and your brothers being your motivation. When did it become real to you? And when did you when you was hit with adversity with your injuries? How did you overcome? How did you persevere? How do you find that oomph to be like, you know what, I'm gonna keep trying, and I believe it definitely comes from some of the teaching of your uncles, your brothers, and through HopeFitness, because again, it's going back to what I said earlier about football being a vehicle. You gotta have that those principles imparted into you. You gotta have that moral compass and within yourself as a man to be like, what is my purpose? What am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like finding your way, so to speak. Like, where did it become real to you to be like, all right, because you can give up, and I don't want people to think that if you don't make it to the NFL, you're a failure. Right. So I'm gonna get on that here in a second.
Yeah, because I want to touch on that too.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's funny you said that. Like you said, you can give up. You can always give up, actually. But do you live with the pain of giving up and not seeing where it can go, or do you live with this other side of that pain of persevering and kind of seeing what it could become? Yeah. So it's kind of double-edged sword. You always have the option to quit. But it's up to you.
That's good stuff.
It's up to you. So, and coming back to that, being one of the four, one of the four kind of forefront guys, coming out of Hope, with me, Fo, the rest of the guys, there's not really much other people, our age that you're looking up to. So a lot of the stuff that you're doing is kind of like troubled waters, Me and my family, I'm the first one to go to college and graduate.
Man,
like being God. That on top of being an athlete and stuff like that, there's certain things that you're going through that other people haven't. So it's kind of like, man, like you said, I want to quit, but I also have something to prove to the people behind me, and I want to see where I can take this.
Man.
So, I got this, scholarship, blessed to have that,
That's a blessing.
You might as well see it through. So the first, thing I was kind of hit with adversity was my freshman year when I really wasn't supposed to qualify coming out of high school. Had to take some summer courses in summer just to graduate, get eligible, during training camp. So I come in, I'm trying to learn the playbook. I'm trying to, secure my scholarship because I really didn't have it. You know? So I'm learning the playbook, and on top of all this, I'm in a whole nother state I never lived in. So,
man,
it's a lot.
That is a lot on the young man to come in, especially with having the family structure that you have. But that motivation and drive is like, nah, we're gonna see what's gonna happen.
Definitely. So, I'm in training camp, my freshman year of college. I qualified the very last second, but I suffered like a high ankle sprain and stuff like that. So that was like my first, decently big injury or whatever. So I'm redshirted. Fourth on the depth chart, redshirted. It comes back to perseverance. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna say, man, hey, there it is. Are you going to be like, hey, let me see where I can take this? I'm fourth, fifth on the depth chart. I secure my scholarship, but I'm calling people like DA, my mom. It's some BS. Man, this is, man, I don't know. Stick with it.
Right. I hear success all through that.
Stick with it.
Right. Well, DA, you was going to talk about, because I really want to kind of drive this point home about, if you don't make it to the NFL, that doesn't mean you didn't succeed in football,
right?
Or with any professional athlete for any athlete for that matter.
Yeah.
I know the end goal is to be a professional athlete and make millions of dollars and blah blah blah. But getting this scholarship, not giving up,
huge.
Leaning on your family,
being
the first one in your family to graduate from college. That I hear success all through your story.
No student loan debt.
No student loan debt.
That's huge.
Nah.
Come on, DA. Speak on it, brother.
Yeah. So one thing that I always say to the kids in the gym is, we hear that these quotes that football is life and this is life. And it's like, listen, it's not life though, because life doesn't end when football ends. It's a beginning of a new life.
You just posted a reel, something like that, right?
Right. Right. So, at the end of the day, like, this is something that you got to, like you said, use as a vehicle. You know what I mean? Like to go get free education, to go meet the best people. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, like think about college is networking. It's huge, right? So some of the people that's on your team, some of the students you'll meet could be business partners. You know what I'm saying? Bosses. You know what I mean? Get, help you get better opportunities, right? So it's a vehicle. Use the vehicle, in the proper way. Now, if the league comes, you make it great. But even still, you still have to have some knowledge behind yourself, because once it's over, then what? Right? It's about saving money. You know what I'm saying? Doing the right things. You know what I mean? Not being in trouble. You know what I mean? So it's still, man, like there's so much more to it than just being an NFL superstar, being an NFL player. Like, no. Use these things that we teach you guys, the training, the learning, the knowledge, the hard work, because that's what life is. Life is going to give you ups and downs. Life is going to give you, turmoil.
Come on.
Life is going to give you some rain, some sun, some wind.
For real.
But if we learn how to endure, right, overall, then we can make true success, true love. You know what I mean?
Thanks.
Your training is pretty intense. 100%. I've seen some videos online.
Yeah.
And your training is pretty intense.
Yeah.
And because one thing I see about athletes as well is that just people in general, for that matter, but definitely athletes, it's added pressure. So you get the pressure of women, and you, like you said, you 18, you out of state. How do you manage that type of pressure? The pressure not only to perform in the classroom, on the field, for your family. Now you're learning and growing and maturing as a man off the field. And how to apply those principles in the times of temptations and adversities. You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like when you face with those? You know what I mean? Because I know we just said it, right? And it sounds good, but everything that you were saying, I'm like, wow, that sounds like success. But how did you the late nights when, even though you're on scholarship, I know it's NIL, a lot of things has changed, but even with the NIL, only a few players really get that money for real. Everybody else kind of gets, some good packages. Right. You know what I mean? And unless you're a high major, you kind of get that full, with the stipend and all that stuff. I mean, you can speak on that a little more, but how do you stay focused, face the challenges of the women, even you, DA, with being a trainer and being that impact to the youth, and I know that it's a security, so women are drawn to security. So how do we face the common adversities as athletes, as trainers, as community leaders, to where we can keep a level of integrity to show, like, all right, we're not just saying it, we're actually going to do our best to walk it, and apply those grace cards and under the level of understanding to be that shoulder. Like you said, that networking in college, it's business partners, friends, lifetime friends. I know athletes who fell into depression and wanted to commit suicide. You know what I mean? I know athletes who came back from college or pro for a year in pro and had to work at Home Depot and couldn't really manage or got into the streets. And so I want to hit on to, that's why I want to drive home that, if you don't make it in football, quote unquote, that's not a failure. Right. If you don't make it pro, it's not a failure. Right. Go to school and get the education. Even though, the system is set up a certain way, we can use the tools to bring change within the systems that we're placed in. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Right.
So with me, not to keep pushing, we have a hope, but I feel like we have something special, right? Like,
no, for sure.
Beyond the training,
for sure.
We have a family. Right?
That's why you're on here.
I appreciate that. You know what I mean? It's love. Thanks. But beyond the training, we have a family, though. You know what I mean? Yes. And so, people always ask me, what are you guys doing different?
There's no perfect family.
There's no perfect family. No. But I always tell them it is the mentorship of the guys in college, right? So, people will kind of stop that aspect once they make it D1 or make it to a certain level. But that's when you drive it more. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When when he had his situation and his son was about to be born, that's when we drive it more.
For sure.
You need these conversations.
For sure.
Because that sends you into a depression.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And it's plenty of times that, have athletes call me late night, Dad, can you talk? Yeah, I got you. What's up? You know what I mean? Those are the moments, right?
Yes, sir.
On top of, we have a network now, right? So at the end of the day, whether it's clients that I train or just our family circle, when you need a job, we have people that we know that get you jobs.
Praise
you know
God.
what I'm saying? So they
That's
give
good.
a call. We say the day.
That's
Hey,
good.
give me his number. Yeah, I got you.
Facts.
Now we have a network. So now this is our fraternity for real. You know what I mean? Like
That's
it's a big
good.
deal. You know what I mean? That we have all this in-house.
That's
to
good.
say, hey, listen, here's your mentorship. Here's your internship. Here's all of it right here under one umbrella. You know what I mean? And this is how we're successful.
That's wonderful, man.
Yeah.
That's wonderful because it does take a family. It takes a village.
Village, 100%.
Facts.
And one thing that you said, it kind of took hold. So how do you interact with the other parents, the fathers? Because me as a father, I'll be like, oh yeah, this is it. This is where I need to be. You know what I mean? Like everything that you offering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just I see it. I know. I see it from firsthand. Like you're not stepping on toes. You're actually inviting the parents to be a part of, to see up front. I just love everything that you have going on at Hope. And man, I just wish you continued success in that. And I do believe you're going to be one of the best trainers in the world, if not the best trainer in the world.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Receive
again,
that.
Brendan is right here. Brendan, you done persevered through, like he mentioned, your son in college. Hit on like, you kind of breezed through it, man, and like give us some nitty gritty on, because a lot of athletes are you.
Yeah.
So you really can, and DA, you went through it as well, but you fresh out the bag.
Yeah.
And what advice could you give to these young athletes that's trying to find a way that's, some, and not everybody's situation is our situation.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But still, there's still some commonality that all the athletes are going to face.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is, with your situation with your son, and how did you maneuver through that to again, like not give up, man. Like I love your story. I love that. I know it's not the end for you. You injured your foot a couple of times, and there's been some times where things didn't look so promising.
Mm-hmm.
But the promise is that you're here and that you not giving up on your dream, and success has been following you throughout your career.
Facts. I don't think a lot of us know what other people are going through, until you kind of push your message out, and then you kind of realize, okay, man, I didn't know this many people could relate to something that I was going through.
Yes.
So, and what you were saying, I think we grow best. I think we grow best when we're uncomfortable. So, especially once that happens, I'm calling the people, are near and dear to me, because at this point I'm thinking my life is going to end. I've got to drop out of school, I'm like, man, I've messed up this picture perfect, mold of a family I had in my head and stuff like that, So just kind of just grappling that, coming to terms with things and stuff like that, just figuring out, okay, so how is this going to change my dynamic with, school? Am I going to have to do anything different? Is his mother going to have to do anything different? Navigating around that and just creating a life for him, I guess, that you would want for yourself, especially if you didn't have the upbringing that you would have liked to have had, not saying anything bad whatsoever.
Right.
So in doing that, I got to go to work, it's like a lunch pail mentality at that point. And at this point, I'm kind of on the come up, in my college career. And lo and behold, once I fell back into that corner, that was the best year I've had probably in my athletic career. Winning player of the year, stuff like that, after being, fifth on the depth chart, being fifth on the depth chart, having a situation like that happen, and I'm like, man, I'm thinking it's knocked me back 3 steps, but it knocked me back 2 to boost me 6. So I was like,
That's good.
This is beautiful. Like
Good
at this
word.
point, like I'm seeing kind of the fruits of my labor and what you look like when you're backed into a corner. Because I truly believe, like a lot of us as men, you really don't know who you are until you're in like, an ugly situation. And once you find a way out of that, and you're like,
Bro, you
man, I
speaking
can
heavy.
become this.
Man.
It's kind of like, man, like this is dope. I don't ever want to be comfortable again because,
Man.
I want to always see how I can keep progressing towards, something different or something higher than where I'm at. Like, I think there's always like a next step, however high that you think you are, there's always a next step, if you can imagine it, so if you speak on it and put, actionable steps behind that, like you can go as high as the sky. Like, I truly believe that. So,
Wow.
yeah, I had some great people around me really just push manifestation at that time. And I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to shut everybody out. And I'm like, man, let me just worry about the next day. Like just the next day, not the next month, not anything else, just the next day and today. That's it.
Wow.
So I did that and it turned out beautiful for me and I kept that mentality. And, it's taken me places I never thought I would have gone. Same for my peers, they just love the journey. And I'm liking the process that I'm at, too. So that's kind of my thought process behind that.
Man, Brendan.
Yeah.
He said some heavy stuff, boy. Wow. The one thing that stood out to me, like, I don't want to be comfortable. And he didn't run from any situation that was thrown at you.
Right.
I mean, I got to admit, man, brother, there's been some times I'm like, I got to face that.
Yeah.
No, sure. Sure.
It's not something, sometimes your choices lead you to that.
Right.
And sometimes something comes your way out the blue. Like, nah, I'm just here to test your faith. I'm here to test, your belief system.
Right.
And man, Brendan, I'm kind of like over here like a loss for words, man, because I knew your story, but I didn't really know all of it to the detail that it is now.
Yes, sir.
And your mindset behind it, I kind of knew, but that's what kind of separates the elite athletes.
Yeah.
DA, you know this, from some who just want to, be social butterflies.
Yeah. So for me, when I started training Brendan was freshman year in high school, you know what I mean? And I saw that a long time ago and kind of hit it off because he was so motivated that he motivated me. This is a young man, 14, 15 years old, knocking on my door on Sunday like, hey, let's be great. You remember that? Like, Sunday. I'm like, dude,
no ride back at all.
I'm chilling.
Yeah.
Listen, he got to find a way. We go work out in the garage, man, just me and him.
Right.
Get a good one.
Right.
Drive him home and talk. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so I remember these moments. So even when he had a situation in college, and then I remember when he kind of like tried to distance himself. And I'm like, hey, listen to me. That ain't the time for that.
Nah.
You know, you remember that. I remember the conversation. I said, hey, we don't do that now. We go. We got to go. Because, we've all been through something. You know what I'm saying? Kind of I told you my story.
Facts.
About when I had my child. And we turned up a notch. So it's not a time to be like, and me distance myself from people who love you the most. Your uncle, your mom. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Myself. No, we go harder at it and say, okay, look, now we ask questions. What do we have to do? What's next? You know what I mean? Like, and like I said, his motivation has always been there. So, like anybody who knows me, I've always said, Defoe and Brendan Knox are next level. You know what I mean? The way they think, the way they walk, talk, move. And I know this dude's going to be great. I didn't have it wasn't a doubt in my mind. So when he first popped that first game and, wrestled 220, everybody's like, oh, you see Brendan? I already knew that was going to happen. What you mean? Like, I'm not doubting that. Like, I know the kind of kid he is.
Right.
He's a dog. You know what
That's
I mean?
wonderful.
Because his mental is strong. Period.
Now, how did both of y'all, this is a question for both of y'all, how did your training skills and what you learned and through your journey, how did that transfer over to you being fathers? Like, how did some of those morals, principles, you watching him, the motivation, how did you transfer that over to being a father? And because being a father, you still got to be just as firm at times,
Right.
Yeah.
delicate, you know what I mean, nourishing. So how did y'all transfer over
Gotcha.
those skills
I would say for me, it was about being just as confident in fatherhood as I was in football. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
'Cause,
sir.
like, we're not
Yes, sir.
handed a manual.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
No one
sir.
says, "Hey, here's your child." You're like, "All right, page 32." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
here's your
Right.
kid.
When
Go
they
get
act
it.
like this, do this.
Yeah.
When they act
No
like that, do
manual,
that.
dog.
Because
All right.
every child is unique.
Every child's unique. So then you start to learn your kids, learn yourself, you know what I mean, get stronger. But then in the day, like, you gotta go get it with these babies. Like, so for me, my kids live out of the same as me though.
Yeah.
Our kids don't live in town.
Well, I got a son that lives out of town.
100%. They're the same, right? So you gotta get up and make that trip. You know
Yes,
what I'm
sir.
saying? Even
No doubt about
even
it.
when you don't feel like it. Yeah, get up and make that game. Even when you don't feel like it. Even, you know what I mean? You get up and make that call. You know what I'm saying? And those are things that like make you stronger as a father, 100%. You know what I mean? Because when you don't want to do something that some men don't do, right? Let's be honest.
Come on.
And then you step up to the plate because it's your obligation.
Right.
And then that makes you greater. And then that carries on in life. And that carries on everything. You know
For
what I mean?
sure.
Yeah,
You see the love result behind it too.
100%.
What about you, B?
I think just that gritty nature we've always kept, from day one. As a dad, I think it's pretty gritty. I don't think we get, as much of a light some fathers should get, but, there is, like DA said, those, we got this coming up, what are we going to do about that? Well, I don't know, but I'm gonna figure it out. Like that type of thing. So in that way, yeah, just that gritty nature. From being in the garage in the snow. From having these different obstacles kind of chucked at you, and you kind of having to be like, man, I don't know, but I will soon. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. So you just carry that mindset throughout that, and I guess learn yourself, like DA said, along the way, and figure out this other dynamic. Yeah.
Do y'all often hear? Well, I was gonna say with DA, I didn't think about it. Your dad transitioned when you were 2. Do you often hear the voice of your father in the moments? And then with you, Brandon, do you often kind of imagine what your father would have been like for you, and y'all kind of carry that too? And
Definitely. All I really have to, DA is a little different. All I really have to go off is like photos, stories, word of mouth. So as long as I know I'm taking it further than, my peers and individuals in my family, and it's not about comparison, but, just making the name, and the family proud from that standpoint, like I'm really content. So
That's
I can
good.
imagine it all day, but as long as I know I'm taking it, to the stars, it doesn't really, bother me like that. And I really, don't really have much to go off of. So
Yeah.
I'm really impressed by his maturity, man. This dude, 24 years old, man.
So,
Goodness gracious.
It used to dwell on me a lot when I was younger, but I just kind of just live my life, just kind of go. And if it comes to me, it comes to me. If not, I don't know.
That's good. Nobody's perfect, man.
No.
Heck no.
None of us is perfect, and this is the whole point of this show. Period, is to show like when your authentic self. God seems to light the path for you. And you don't have to live a perfect life, so to speak. You do your best for sure,
Right.
Within yourself and through God's help. But it's not going to be this picture perfect, and that's. I hope I'm driving that home for the most part with the athletes. Like we have this stigma that it's going to be, we're going to play Pee Wee. If we don't get a Division I football scholarship, if we don't go first round, second round, or make it to the league, it's this failure, but not looking at the successes all throughout the journey. You know what I mean? And that transfers and translates to being a parent, your uncle you mentioned, being a sibling, being a teammate. It's so much success in the journey of life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we have these vehicles and tools that we are giving and that is provided and we create that, ultimately used properly, regardless you're going to gain some lessons, but used properly, you're going to reach a destination that you're going to be very satisfied with.
For sure. For me, man, I knew I would be great at whatever, is because my mom Like, she put it in me, man. You know, my mom, man, like, she's a home run hitter. You know what I'm saying? So every day is motivation. Every day is constantly like, hey, man, the footsteps of righteous man are pure. They my God. Like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, start walking every day. So I knew no matter what, it was going to be something. But for me, like, those moments when you like see it, it hits different, right? Like, so, you know, so the example being was like being on the sideline at one of Foles games, and I'm like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got the sideline
like
pass,
that.
like,
Right.
dang,
It's like that. Yes.
And then my players walking up to me, dapping me, and you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
BA walk up and dap me, and then catch my sideline, like, who's this dude, man? You know what I mean? Like, they looking at me like, hey, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, nah, you know, I train them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I know many NFL players. I know you got League, Baron Browning. We can go on and on and on with the number of football players that and just athletes, period, that's come through your doors.
For sure.
And you influenced. With both of y'all, before we wrap it up, is there any advice or a word that you would love to leave to the audience that may be listening, and that young man or young athlete, young woman, parent, any advice that you would want to spew out before?
Really, just run your race.
Good word.
Yeah, just run your race. And don't really get caught up in whether you're behind or too ahead of where you should be and stuff like that, because everybody's like different from the next, especially as a young man. You guys are a little older, more established, stuff like that. But, you know, from my standpoint, yeah, like just run your race and don't really get caught up in the milestones somebody else has going on, because, you know, divine timing is real and you're on your way to where you need to be. So, yeah, just stay put, you know, what you got going on, and just maximize your opportunities. So, yeah.
One of my favorite scriptures is Romans 8:28, right? So all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and calling according to his purpose. We're playing, right? So for me, I would say life is going to give you what life's going to give you. But just know when God has your back, that everything's going to work together for the good. All of it. Promise you that. Like, don't think about when you have your low, because there's a high coming, because God has your back. All things work together for the good for those who love the Lord. You know what I mean? Because you're called according to his purpose. Like, period. So just know it's coming. It's always sunny day. It's coming. You're all right.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So keep going. You hear me? Keep going. Let's go.
My goodness, man. Thank y'all for being on the show, man.
Appreciate you
being
having
on this
us.
episode. I mean, so much has been said, and I'm sure somebody's going to gravitate to some jewels that were dropped today. Man, thank you guys again for tuning in. Check out my man, DA Hope Fit. Follow my brother, my nephew, Brendan Knox, and of course, tap in with I Overcame. All right, fellas, that's a wrap. Come on, man, give me some love.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know it. You know it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. You know, so much. I really appreciate your love.